The stock market is back to a crucial level, and we have a big event set to release tomorrow. Biden is set to talk on possibly forgiving some student loan debt, so that's going to be a big catalyst for tomorrow. In addition to that, we have some decent sized earnings tomorrow, and overall, the market's just at an important level, and we have some things to talk about. So, with that being said, Tom, we're not wasting any time today. Let's get right into it.
Yeah, Mike, like you said, the market overall was very flat. You can see here on the heat map, most of the big tech stocks in the market were either up slightly like Nvidia, up 0.86%, or just down slightly, kind of like Microsoft was, down 0.47%. Apple was actually down a little bit as well. I will say those stocks did make a bit of a push early up or up early in the morning, but they did end up falling back down, especially towards the end here. Tesla was green, which was one of the outliers, which caught my eye. But the big sector that was moving today, Mike, was actually the oil sector. I will say like ZOM, CVX, Oxy was up 6.9%. Those stocks were really up today, kind of holding markets up. And we can see ZOM's kind of breaking out here. If we go to the daily chart, it's having some pretty big moves up. Now, I don't think that this news is necessarily groundbreaking for the market, but it is kind of jumping. There is some news coming out here with Saudi Arabia's energy minister kind of saying that they could cut production anytime. And as we know, whenever countries cut production, it usually makes oil prices start to go up a little bit. So that's why we're seeing, the price of oil go up along with all these crude oil stocks. Here's crude oil itself. It had a really big day today. It looks like crude recently also bounced off of support around $87. So just watch out for crude oil. It could be back on the rise, which would be boosting up all these other stocks like Oxy, which, as we know, had news earlier or actually late last week where they're actually allowing Warren Buffett to buy up to 50% of the company. So who knows? Maybe he's even making more purchases here.
True that. So, Tom, I know a lot of people are talking about Biden's announcement with possibly forgiving some student loan debt. Some people have mentioned looking at SOFI or SoFi over the next couple days because if if student loans, or at least some of them, get forgiven, that can be pretty big for this stock. But there are other companies out there that can benefit from this sort of catalyst. Tell us more about the event.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty big. Biden's going to be talking tomorrow at some point. We don't know exactly what time this statement's going to come out. I will say Biden has been historically late, Mike, to quite a few things. So I don't know when this will happen tomorrow. Hopefully it happens after the market closes, though. That way it won't be too crazy. But he's looking to forgive loans, maybe up to $10,000 per borrower with yearly incomes of less than $125,000 per year. So it sounds pretty good, Mike. I don't know how much it's going to make a dent in the overall debt balance here. They're saying it exceeds $1.7 trillion with 40 million Americans in debt for their education. So it's definitely pretty bad numbers there. That's a lot of money. But as we know, whenever you get into that student loan stuff, you obviously know what you got into, kind of like if you're buying a house. I'm not saying it shouldn't be forgiven, but at the same time, I know a lot of people are going to be really conflicted on this, Mike. So it's kind of one of those weird situations, but like you said, it might help some of these stocks like SoFi, and I would expect it to even make some banks probably go crazy as well.
Yeah, so it's hard to say what this event will have in terms of consequences in the stock market because the event did not happen yet. There's a lot of variables that come into place depending on what ends up happening. So honestly, guys, there's not too much information we could talk about related to this specific event just yet. We need more information. But with that being said, when this event happens tomorrow, keep an eye on some of these stocks like SoFi and just other stocks that have any exposure to student loans.
Yeah, definitely. And possibly even the SPY. I mean, it might even trickle into that if we see enough people talking about it. I know there was actually quite a bit of hype coming out with that today. So yeah, watch it to move some of those bank stocks that could definitely end up influencing possibly the market. And talking about the market, Mike, we did actually have a bit of a down day again. I will say the SPY was holding up, especially early in the morning, quite well. We were actually popping up as we saw Apple and a few other tech stocks go green early on. But to end the day there, they all kind of pulled back down into the red. I will say the SPY, when looking at it on this 5-minute chart here, you can see it's starting to get back to some pretty big areas of support from at the beginning of August. So I'm curious to see if the SPY is going to hold some of these bigger supports here around 410 to maybe 413 and start to go back up, or if we're going to start to fall down and out of this channel and possibly down back to around $400. It's a pretty big level here. I think we might end up holding, Mike. You know, that 410 support's pretty huge, but we'll have to see how this price action ends up going over the next few days, especially with Powell speaking towards the end of the week.
All right, there we go. So, Tom, I know a bunch of people have been looking at AMC and APE stock lately, and there was some pretty big news from Jim Chanos taking an interesting trade with this one. So, tell us more.
Yeah, he's betting on their shares to converge in a bit of an arbitrage trade here. So whenever we scroll down here into the article, he has some pretty big statements where he's talking about, he says pretty much, I'm counting on them to close. He thinks that they'll ultimately be in the same class. He says, I think they should be the same price or roughly the same price. So he's making an arbitrage bet that obviously APE will start to go up a little bit more towards AMC's price, and probably that AMC will start to fall back down towards APE's price a little bit more. I did see some pretty bad downgrades on AMC lately. I saw somebody downgraded them to $2 today, and they said obviously that's a pretty bad price target when a stock's at $10, that they'll downgrade it down to $2. But obviously there's a lot of different analysts out there, and I see upgrades and downgrades on AMC almost daily, given the major hype with it. But it's a pretty big thing, Mike, with Jim Chanos. Obviously it's a pretty big bet, and he's probably betting on APE shares to start to obviously head back up to around maybe 9 or 10, kind of like AMC's at now.
Yeah, basically the trade is focused on capturing the difference in prices between these two stocks, you can say. So right now he is shorting AMC and he is long APE stock. Basically, he just wants these two prices to, at some point in the future, get either a lot closer or, in a perfect world, go to the same price, because then he will profit. What's cool about this trade is when you get in these arbitrage trades like this, you don't really care what the market itself does. You're just making a bet that the two stocks prices will converge or at least get closer to like being equal. And what's cool is like both of these stocks can fall, he can make money. Both of these stocks can rise and he can make money. He just wants them to be around the same. So it's interesting. Keep an eye on it. You don't see headlines like this every day.
Yeah, you really don't. He's a pretty influential name, Mike. He's been around the market for a long time, so definitely keep your eyes on this. Like it says, he's a hedge fund manager. It looks like right now he's with Kaniko's Associates. I probably pronounced that terribly, guys. Roast me in the comments for that one. But nonetheless, though, it's a pretty big trade. I can't wait to see what APE and AMC do over the next few days. Looks like AMC is probably going to keep falling down, Mike. This has been terrible for them, obviously. But as we know, the APE shares obviously play a role in this. But if AMC keeps going down, it'll just continue to get worse and worse in that scenario. But looking at the other stocks in the market today, Mike, and the economic calendar, we do still have some pretty big stuff coming out towards the end of the week, like that second estimate for the GDP growth rate there, then personal income and personal spending towards the end. So nothing too crazy on the news. The main thing is going to be Powell speaking on Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern time.
Alrighty. Yeah, Powell speaking on Friday will definitely be very important, so keep that in mind. But Tom, let's also take a look at that earnings calendar.
Yeah, this is huge. So tomorrow, guys, is going to be the biggest day of the week, probably. We're going to have NVIDIA in after hours, along with Salesforce, or ticker symbol CRM, then Snowflake, or ticker symbol Snow. We're even going to have Splunk, Victoria's Secret at the end of the day as well. So it's going to be a very big day, Mike. As we know, everybody's been looking at NVIDIA over the past week, kind of waiting for this, along with Salesforce and Snowflake. So let's go maybe check out NVIDIA today. I know it was all over the place, but it actually closed up in the green, 0.86%. It was one of those outliers on the heat map today that ended up in the green. They are around a pretty big support down here, around 168 to 170. Seems like there was a bit of a bounce there today. I know that these earnings lately have been very mixed, so I'm very curious to see how NVIDIA is going to report. I honestly would not be surprised if they ended up falling down a little bit. I will say some of these technical patterns here are pretty bad, like with this double top up here, and they're still pretty overextended in the short term too.
All right, there we go. Well, Tom, you know what time it is. Momentum plays. With the first one, we have DAL to the upside.
Yeah, good thing these airlines started actually popping back today while a lot of stocks were just very flat, but go ahead and make Delta break above $33 even.
Alrighty. With the next one, we have JD, also to the upside.
Yeah, the China plays also did well. Go ahead and make JD break above 57.80.
And with the last one, we have CVX or Chevron to the upside.
Chevron, I will say, Mike, these oil plays are very explosive right now. They are on fire, like we talked about earlier in the video. Go ahead and make Chevron break above 162.35.
All right, there we go. So you guys heard Tom. We are watching Chevron, JD, and DAL for potential day trades to the upside tomorrow, only if they break above the levels Tom listed. So definitely keep them on your radar. And we also want to give a huge shout out to today's member of the day, and that is JDeep B in the Discord. Thank you so much for all of your activity. You've been in the chat for quite some time, so we definitely appreciate you sticking around and being active. Huge shout out to you. But Tom, looking at the market tomorrow, we are getting to more normal levels. Last week, we saw a bunch of the market moving gigantic tech stocks like Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, and many others exploding to the upside at an unsustainable pace. Now we are starting to see the stock market pull back, obviously, which is not a bad thing, and that's what we've been expecting. In terms of like market sentiment and the levels in the market right now, I'm personally not expecting any gigantic moves up or down until the Jackson Hole event. That's just me. I feel like we are not at a point of extreme overbought or extreme oversold levels at this point in time.
Yeah, I really don't either. I think we kind of pulled back right into like a bit of a safer area here. Like I said before, Mike, there is a bit of a channel here on the SPY at the beginning of August that was happening. And I wonder if we're just going to maybe stay like in that channel here, maybe for a couple weeks or until after the Jackson Hole Summit later in the week, maybe. But nonetheless, I'm really going to be watching some of these big levels here, like I talked about, that 410 support, maybe 408 under that over the next couple days if we continue to stay right around where we are. I will say I was pretty optimistic this morning whenever the SPY started rising up a little bit. We started to see some of those other tech stocks start to pop up too. I'm curious, maybe some of these stocks will start to come up over the next couple days, just a little bit, or obviously just go flat like this. I would honestly expect more of flat movement, but as we know, you might be able to catch some day trades if we do see some pops early on, kind of like we saw here. So I figured it'd be worth mentioning because the market is a little bit oversold over the past like 2 days, but when you look at the monthly outlook, then it starts to look obviously still overbought, which it's a little bit hard to contrast like that, but you know, sometimes you have to try to, you know, take your ebbs and flows like as they come to you.
Gotcha. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe if you're new. We post brand new videos every single day, and definitely check out that first link in the description and the comments down below to join the StockedUp Discord chat. It is completely free. You get access to free day trades every single morning from Tom and me, and you can network with a bunch of other great traders and people. Again, it'll be that first link in the description and the comments down below. Besides that, let's have a great trading day tomorrow, and thank you guys for watching.